Hello everybody and welcome along to RadioLeMans.com's continuing coverage in 2015 of the FIA International Endurance Series powered by Hankook. It's the Creventic Championship and this weekend the penultimate round for this season. It's the 24 Hours of Barcelona at the circuit of Catalunya, where it is less than Spanish weather and we're not on the plane, so why have we got the rain here this afternoon? It's John Hindhaugh and the rest of the team as we're ready to go qualifying and set the grid for the classes throughout the field for the 24-hour race, which kicks off at midday European time tomorrow. And it's qualifying next, live here on RadioLeMans.com. Well, the wind has dropped and the clouds have blown away just a little bit. The little hopeful heart in me says, it's getting brighter over there, mister. But I'm not sure if that's where the weather is coming from. Let's go straight down to Joe Bradley, who is our pit lane reporter for this first part of qualifying. Has the rain actually stopped, Joe?
Afraid not, my man. Afraid not. It is very warm, though, very humid. And if this, the problem is we haven't got any wind. There isn't any wind. What we need is
unusual
a bit of
for
wind. Yeah, not speaking out personally. But what we need, John, is a bit of wind to be created, and that would mean that these clouds would actually blow over. But at the moment, we have got rain still falling out of the sky, and even though the track surface and the ambient temperature is quite high, certainly by our English standards, I don't think we're going to see any kind of dry track at all if this continues. It's probably going to be a full wet session.
Live in sound and vision at the www.24hseries.com website and on the IES pages of RadioLeMans.com. Paul Truswell and Martin Haven are in the booth with me, overlooking the starter stand, and the long front straight here as one or two cars just begin to potter out. Two qualifying sessions, each of 45 minutes in duration. First of all, it is the quicker cars. It's going to be interesting because if the rain does continue to stay away and doesn't get any worse, the track should dry up, which will make the second qualifying session for everything bar the A6 GT3 category, 997 Porsche class and SP2, the specials, should make it all a little bit easier. One of the Mercedes being pushed down rather rapidly. Martin Haven has spotted that from the petrol station.
Well, we just saw in the break it was being pushed the wrong way up the pit lane. You said, well, he's going the wrong way up the pit lane. Yeah, he was going back to the petrol station. Now he is being pushed at a trot, which is hard work because you're only allowed 4 people to work with the car. So they are trying to get him back to the garage and get a driver ready for qualifying here at the circuit of Catalunya.
And we're just hearing there's been a 5-minute delay for a little bit of clear-up that's going on around the circuit. The Nissan Navara pickup trucks have been working overtime. The Mercedes-Benz, it was the number 5 car, the Car Collection Motorsport, their first of 2 entries that they've got. The Schmidt, Matschul, Ziegler, Rick Breukers and Renger van der Zande car is the car that was being pushed down the pit lane. I did notice that at the front of the queue to go out onto the track, Ram Racing were already parked up in the fast lane.
Was that the 30 Ram Racing car or the 33, it looks identical to it, not Ram Racing car?
The good news is that, and those of you who have access to pictures around the world, and many of you still will be listening just to the audio side of this, but as ever with the International Endurance Series, we do have pictures, and the rain is still coming down in the pit lane at the moment. They do have identifying numbers front and rear on the shade bands, on the corners of the shade bands, and it was, I'm pretty certain it was the 30. By the way, our thanks also to Toby Gillies, who is the man on duty back at our main control room back in London, who's pressing the buttons and making sure that we did do all the right things and go to air. Renger Racing on the side of the number or the second position car. Now that's interesting.
He is strapped in.
That should be the 2 car. That's Bernd Schneider that was at the wheel of that car. No intermediate tyres from Hankook, and that's deliberate. It's wet or dries as far as that, and it's wet at the moment, Martin.
And it is, in fact, we are now looking at Renger getting into his car. We were looking at Schneider in the sister car, so the Mercedes are ready to go, and it is the Ram Racing Mercedes SLS that is ready at the front of the field.
And the 45 Flying Lizard Porsche apparently parked up behind it. No, it's not. It's the Arthea Sport 997 GT3 Cup car. Paul Truswell is alongside Martin and myself in the pit lane. Martin and me in the pit lane, sorry. Not in the pit lane, in the booth.
Martin and I.
No, Paul's alongside me. He's not alongside I. There's nothing special, nothing trick, nothing clever about qualifying here. It's 45 minutes. Fastest car takes the pole position.
Yes, it's kind of reassuring, really, isn't it? Sometimes it's kind of have it how it was when you remember when you first went.
275 place grid penalty.
The only trick is that it's this or nothing. The session that we saw only seems like half an hour ago. It was only half an hour ago. Was a free practice session, so the times don't count. The night practice, which follows these two sessions,
which we will have live, by the way,
will not count towards the grid positions. So these two sessions, split, as you've been saying, John, between the faster cars and the slower cars, or the less fast cars, they only have 45 minutes in which to make their time. So despite Joe trying to make it rain down there in the pit lane and around on the track, hopefully the conditions will remain similar for both the sessions, because if it does dry out for what should be a slower session later this afternoon, in the early evening really, then it could make the grid a little bit messed up with some what will be slower cars having unrealistically fast qualifying times.
1 minute, the finger being held up at the end of the pit lane by the Royal Automobile Club of Catalunya official, who is standing ready to release the beasts. And it will be Ram Racing who charge off onto the circuit. A very long outrun to drivers right on the pit lane with a solid white line, which the drivers and the team manager were told to respect absolutely here over the weekend. It is an extremely quick run down the front straight, and clearly can't be compromised by somebody coming out. Car Collection Motorsport have one of 6 onboard cameras that we have here this weekend, and I'm sure we'll see all of those. Notice that the drivers are being told to fire off their driver IDs. We do have an idea of who is in the car as the green flag waves, and that heads off. And the cars head off with still a lot of tyre debris on the circuit from earlier on today. Martin.
First car out, according to the timing screen, Thomas Jaeger, but we did think that Tom Onslow Cole was going to go out and start qualifying. Saw a couple of cars in the pit lane at close-up showing them to be on slicks, but the track is wet and getting wetter. As Joe reports, it has started raining or continues to rain, and there's quite a lot of spray even at slow speed as the cars head out of the pit lane.
Let's head back to Joe Bradley now, who's with Paul White down in the pit lane.
I'm at the number 30 Ram Racing pit, actually. Paul White standing, watching the car go out onto the track. Paul, not ideal conditions, and certainly not what we're expecting in Spain here.
To be fair, we were kind of expecting it after the torrential downpour last year. It's still been a tough call, but the car feels absolutely beautiful in the damp and the slip. It's really nice.
What does this mean, though? Does this mean just that maybe qualifying is going to turn into a lottery?
I think, in fairness, at the very front, there's some really, really good drivers, all of them very, very familiar with the cars. I think it's more of a lottery midfield. I think the first 5 or 6 cars is going to be just a big shootout.
And then there's that age-old question as to just how important is qualifying for a 24-hour car race?
Oh, crucial. No, it isn't, but it's just, I know it's bragging right, but I think it's an important boost for the team to have that pole and to feel confident about where you're going.
A lot of talk regarding the championship. Does that put pressure on you guys, or do you kind of try and put it away?
I mean, certainly from a personal perspective, I was starting to feel it recently, but now we're here and we're running. No, we're just doing our job, and it's coming together really nicely.
And are you getting in for a little bit of qualifying before the session finishes, that is?
I doubt it.
Whose duties are left to qualifying the number 30 then?
We're pretty much leaving it to Thomas. He's got the most kilometres under his belt in the wet in this car. So we've got every confidence in him delivering.
The joys of youth.
Yeah, that'd be the one.
Thanks, Paul.
Paul White with Joe Bradley. Renger van der Zande behind the wheel of the car collection. Motorsport Mercedes-Benz coming round to start his lap, turns in, feeling for grip on the front end of the Mercedes-Benz. He comes across the line under our feet now and heads down towards the first corner. The tyre debris is still excessive offline as he comes down the middle of the road, brakes nice and early, very early indeed. The 13 Lamborghini bright green Huracan behind him, leaving the braking a little bit later and not really getting into the right line in the corner. Through turn number 2, he heading off to the monstrously long uphill right-hander of turn 3. Renger should be staying off the racing line here, looking for grit on the outside. That's exactly what he's doing with cars ahead of him. One of the GC automobiles that he's just gone by now. Under the Repsol Bridge, brakes again super early, take a lot of speed. Normally into the apex of turn number 4, staying away from the racing line, over the little crest of the hill before turn 5. Pick a line, any line through turn 5. As you dive down the hill again, turn 6 a left-hand kink that you don't really have to bother about too much. Just set the car up. It's not like you take the classic racing line, but you want to be in a straight line braking for turn number 7, uphill with a little kink off the back of it that you don't have to worry about. Accelerate, accelerate, accelerate. In the big cars, it's a lift and a slight brake to settle the car down in the dry, not using any of the curb on the exit there from Renger van der Zande in the number 5 Mercedes-Benz as he heads down the hill now to turn number 10, another heavy braking area, and once again the Lamborghini behind him, not on the classic line there, looking for more grip now. Will they take the curb on the outside of turn number 8? No, it doesn't. Number 11, excuse me, doesn't do that. And van der Zande favouring again the wide line with the another Mercedes in front of him who he has caught.
That's the 33 car, Lance David Arnold driving it.
Hit this bit of the track through the very nudgy chicane. So he's got up the inside of Lance David Arnold there. There was almost a little touch as they came through the second part of the chicane at 15, but he's managed to dispose of Lance David Arnold and now will get a crack at a little bit of a clearer lap, but he is quickest. 2:07.8 in the wet for van der Zande. Freddie Bart in second place in the 13 Sportec Motorsport Huracan. That's the car that is tracking these guys behind. And again, Bart right into the pit lane exit as he comes down into turn number 1.
And Renger van der Zande setting the fastest lap. Lance David Arnold, who was just in front of him for almost all the way, got a little balked by a 997 Cup car. He's gone across the line third, which is now down to 4th, because Serbian Milos Pavlovic has gone second quickest in a car we haven't talked much about. That's the 21 Lamborghini Huracan, the Super Trofeo car, Sportec Racing. He is driving that at the moment. So Pavlovic 2:08.0, 2:07.84 for van der Zande. Van der Zande now on a second flying lap. More camera in the number 10 car. That's the Hopeful Racing Mercedes. Michael Kroll, or is that Chantal Kroll driving it?
Michael, I'm going to say. Watching the
currently 18th fastest.
Watching the rainfall outside of our window as the second car collection Motorsport Mercedes-Benz, the 27 car with Elmer Grimm behind the wheel of that car is out qualifying. Paul, there's no rules, is there? Or tell me about how many drivers can drive in this qualifying session.
Any or as many or as few as you want, and you don't have to do as much of it if you don't want to either. There's no kind of minimum number of laps that you do.
Every driver's got to do 2 laps before the race starts in day and night sessions. But other than that,
exactly.
fine.
Yeah, no, exactly. And you don't have to do the time sessions. What's fascinating me about this is whether or not, when is going to be the driest part of the session, because it is pouring down with rain at the moment. I say pouring, it's heavy drizzle at the moment. We're about 17 seconds off what would be a quick dry weather time. But on the other hand, if this turns out to be the driest portion, then you've got to be out there. So you've really got to sense what the conditions are and be out there at the right time, because otherwise you're just thrashing around wasting your time.
3 classes out. These are the cars that we would expect to see at the front of the field. The A6 GT3 cars, effectively, plus the Porsche class, the 997 class it's called on the timing screen, and SP2, the faster of the special cars classes, basically for people who don't fit anywhere else. The 21 car is the first of those, the Huracan, as Renger van der Zande goes down to 206, and in 997, Martin, we have the 54 Porsche that leads that category. And actually
who's driving that one? Ricardo Mauricio, no wonder that was a quick lap. Quick lap also from Charles Espinal, his first flying lap in the number 20 car. We talked to the team a little earlier when Shea was down in the pit lane there. Porsche 997 Cup Car 991 Cup Car, beg your pardon. He shares with Dave Russell, Charles Putnam and Joe Foster.
That's the way to do these races, because those cars go very, very long on fuel. And we've seen in Dubai in the past, Martin, those cars into the second hour of the race will jump up the field, then they'll drop down again as the faster cars go by them. But as the race progresses, particularly the 24-hour races, you'll see them get well inside the top 20, maybe even get the winner finishing in the top 10. Schneider went up to second for a moment, and then Matteo Malucci.
That's his first flying lap. Now, he's been in and out. He's done an in-lap and an out-lap twice before getting a flying lap. So, still 5 cars to leave the pit lane. They're down to 4 now. Isaac Toutoulou hasn't gone out yet either in the number 22 car. Charles Espinal just improved again. He's now up to 15th with that car. So the Leipert Motorsport Huracan has not yet left the pit lane.
And 2 of the Mark prototypes he's not gone out. In fact, as I say that, of course, the 91 car does go out with Ben Gurkalski driving that machine. That's the car with James Kay and Keith Kasulke at the wheel.
Lance David Arnold, quickest again, or quicker again, stays 4th, 2:07.8. Matteo Malicelli's lap, 2:07.1, still has him 3rd. Thomas Jaeger improved, 2:06.6. He's still 2nd, though, because Renger van der Zande flashed across the line behind him, improving again, 2:06.2 is the fastest time, but his last lap was a 2:06.7, so he still remains on top. In fact, his last lap not an improvement.
Milos Pavlovich comes into the pit lane in the 21 Sportec Motorsport Huracan. This is the sort of flat black machine that is out there.
We've got one that's matte black and one that's chrome green. So they're very easy to tell the difference between, which won't stop me getting them muddled, obviously. In fact, in multi-car teams, there is only one team that has got identical liveries, and that's a pair of black and orange BMWs that are utterly identical, apart from one of them's got a slightly less fancy rear wing, and the other one has got a tiny little bit of an orange tab on the door.
Let's head down to Joe Bradley in the pit lane. I was talking about the Mark Cars machines not going out. The 92 car still not out, although the 91 Joe has gone out now.
Literally, as you mentioned, that the Mark Cars had not made an appearance. The 91 car rolled out, and with Keith Kasulka, I hope I've said that right, Keith, haven't I?
It's Kasulki.
Kasulki, I knew it was one of 2, and I went 50-50. Keith, a little bit of a delay for your car getting out on track finally. Is there any real hurry about qualifying in the wet here?
None whatsoever, no, just a bit of... we're going over a few things after the last practice, but the car's very good, no problems at all. Just perhaps like either a bit more rain or no rain. It's in between now, so it's very difficult to know. I mean, I just burnt one set of tyres, but and I think there's another set going to be burnt here, but still we have to do it.
So is the track conditions at the moment are just wearing out rain tyres, but there isn't a choice because it's too slippery for slick still?
Correct, yeah. It's and there's not much water on the circuit either. I mean, you've got to look for the water, but there really isn't much there. So, but it's really too wet to put dries on. So, it's one of those things you just got to deal with.
Yeah, thanks for talking to us, Keith. Thanks for that little bit of insight there. So, track conditions there, a little bit of information regarding that, John.
Yeah, and quite clearly, Martin, tyres steaming as they come off some of the cars. It looks like there's some kind of discussion going on down at the Sportec pit with the 21 car having a set of slick Hankook Racing tyres alongside that car.
Yeah.
So I think you give it a go, don't you, before the end of it, just in case?
I think you have to. I mean, looking out the window, the sky is brightening and the rain has all but stopped now. And I'm saying, well, okay, no. Milos Pavlovic, though, clearly feels that there is some mileage on at least trying a slick. And as we just heard from Keith Kozulki, it's neither fish nor fowl. It's not dry enough to be slicks. It's not wet enough to keep the wet weather tyres cool. And so they are eating into the shoulders really viciously.
And through goes Matteo Malucelli, fully
no improvement.
3 seconds off his time. I wonder if he was just balked there, the number 4 Ferrari, with the bright red number 2 on the side showing second overall. That's an innovation that we've had for many years in the Creventic competition. All of the cars in the field have the marker lights on the side coming out of turn number 3 and heading slightly uphill to turn 4. Just a little bit of a slide from Malucelli as he now brakes, goes down through the gearbox into turn number 4, and as he comes out of it, he has slowed right up. No, he's still leaning on that. From the middle of the road, you can, in the dry, you'd go all the way to the left-hand side there before setting up for the next left-hander. But he's really struggling for grip out there. The Ferrari's engine screaming, and it is a very, very edgy sound on that GT3, the A6 category Ferrari 458, soon to be replaced, of course, by the new 488, the twin-turbo, and a big break with Ferrari in terms of building their GT3 cars. Malucelli's car that is out there at the moment, the number 4 car, is based on the Ferrari Challenge car and then built into a GT3 car. The new 488 will be downgraded, if you will, from a GTE car, and led to believe by sources at Ferrari, and indeed through the guys who are building the new cars for Ferrari, that there will be a kit of parts available for a GT3 car to be able to transform it back to a GTE car. Now obviously that's going to be at a price, and price has not been mentioned, but that is a very interesting departure for Ferrari and for the guys down there. And a 2:06, 6:03 for Malucelli is that car's best lap, and within 3/10 now, Martin, of Renger van der Zande at the head of the field.
And Thomas Jaeger went quicker as well, but not as quick as he came into the pit lane. He is in the pit lane. Why did his name flash up there? Milos Pavlovic has just gone out. Now, whether he's on slicks or wets, we will know in about 2 minutes' time, or 3 or 4 minutes' time, when we get a flying lap off him. You might perhaps guess it would be wet. Still 1, 2, 3 cars to set a time, one of which has just gone out, which is the DriveX Audi R8 GT3 Ultra, and Rafael Sarandesis is at the wheel of that car. That's one of the 5 driver lineup cars from the DriveX school here in Spain. Nice looking kind of matte grey and red and black livery on that car. That's out on track. And so the only one that we don't know about, because we know the 92 Mark Carr's car is still being fettled, their Focus V8. The only one we don't know why it hasn't gone is, and has yet to go out, is Leipert Motorsports number 22 Lamborghini Huracan, which has the Spaniard Isaac Tutumlu Lopez nominally at the wheel, but not wheeling it, if you like. Renger van der Zande in the pit lane and sitting on his time and in his car and having a bit of a wait, I think.
Paul Truswell, question here from Right Turn Lover. Do the SP2s need to keep within a minimum reference time?
Yes, they do, and there are 3 different minimum reference times for the SP2s: 1 minute 54, 1 minute 55, and 1 minute 56. And depending which one of those they fall into, they have a different minimum weight and a different maximum refueling amount, which is on the website if you want to check it. But in effect, come the race, they have minimum reference lap times of 1:54, 1:55 or 1:56, which of course is irrelevant if the conditions are like they are at the moment. You might as well go for the best refueling amount and the minimum weight. Which would be the way to go, but of course it's unlikely. I can't remember who it was. Somebody said that the race forecast is for dry conditions.
Depending on which particular weather app you look at, it's anything from thunderstorms to scorching. Now, one of the things that qualifying allows the organisers to do is, if necessary, to reclassify cars. If you've entered into a class, and again, particularly in the A6 category, but your lap time is significantly faster, they can then move you up a bit into a different class or add a balance of performance if you want to remain where you are. Now, of course, it being wet and 10 seconds or more or less slower than it should be in the dry, that's going to make that very difficult to achieve, and so it may mask a difference in performance in a car that won't be evident until we get into a race.
Joe Bradley's down in the pit lane.
I'm at the number 13 Lamborghini pit where Freddie Bart has just brought that number 13 car in, and was hoping to get a word with him. Really what I want to find out is just what the conditions are like out there. I know you were saying the rain stopped. It hasn't really, it just kind of shifts around. But fundamentally, it is wet out here and it's still coming down. However, if I look sort of 100 metres down the pit road, it's raining, and where I'm standing at the number 13 pit, it isn't. So that's the kind of conditions we've got to contend with. Freddie Bart, who was unable to talk to us because I think he's about to get into, he's just given me kind of the swap around signal, the hand gesture that tells me that he's getting into the sister car, which will be the other Lamborghini, the black one. He's just got to have the green one, if that makes sense.
Right, so that'll be the number 21 Sportec car he's getting into, which Milos Pavlovic drove a little earlier on.
He's just coming down to the end of the lap now, Martin. Second gear through the Nagy little rear chicane. Big bit of opposite lock as he turns into the final corner. He stayed out, trying to balance the car in fourth gear through the final corner. Accelerates up and over the line, fifth gear. Snatches sixth as he goes underneath us. Heads towards turn number one. Let's see where he brakes. Single wiper, making the big, lazy movements across the screen. Fairly stable under braking, that new Huracan Cup car, but does of course have ABS and traction control like the GT3s are allowed. Third gear, fourth now as he heads up into turn number three, and again just having to balance the car, searching for grip. Felt confident enough to go onto the curbs on the outside of four there, on the outside of three there, Mon.
Well, again, when you've got those facilities to try and mitigate the amount of slide, then, I mean, not that it's enough. You can tell that Lamborghini V10 is still pushing the rear end around a lot. He's got very busy hands, and that also will clearly mean very busy feet. But yeah, he wasn't worried about going over the curb.
Quite a remarkable run out in what is clearly very difficult conditions.
Listen, just to flag up, Rafael Sarandasis, I spoke about 5 minutes ago about the fact that he had not yet left the pit lane in the number 29 car. He went out, his first flying lap was good enough for 8th. He's now up to 5th fastest in that Audi R8 GT3 Ultra. He is flying.
The three sectors at the moment being taken in terms of best times by three different cars and three different drivers. Ferrari in sector 1 for Monicelli, Van der Sande in sector 2 for Mercedes-Benz, and Alfred Renard in the number 7 Porsche in second place.
Who just went second on that last lap and has come into the pit lane 58 thousandths behind Van der Sande. The top three are in. Matteo Monicelli brought the Ferrari in with that fantastic flat plane crank V8 barking away. Thomas Jaeger's still out there, that car's fourth. Rafael Sarandasis, that car is fifth. That's the 30 Ram Racing and the 29 DriveX car. Well, but is it though? Milos Pavlovic is sixth. Lance David Arnold, you might think, well, there's a Porsche driver. Well, he was, but he's not anymore. That's seventh. We're looking at the number 54997 class car, and that is currently down in 13th place.
Yeah, now, and who's at the wheel of that?
Now, if Joe hangs around where he was 2 minutes ago, Milos Pavlovic is now on pit road, so as he gets out and hands the car to Freddie Bart, we can get first hand from the serve what the track is like. His English is excellent, so he'll be able to give you a really good description of just how slimy it is.
Valkenhurst Motorsports just coming in with Jens Klingmann in the number 3 car. That car down in 11th position, and I would have thought that car would have been higher up. Right off the racing line as they go past us, the 34 Porsche. And that was the 54 Porsche in the tyre debris before turning back onto the track in the fuel point at the moment, Christian Frankenhut.
But also the Porsche, although there was tyre debris there was also water there, and he's on the straight, he's cooling the tyres.
Good point,
so that white Porsche with the very distinctive Brazilian flag on the nose, I mean, he's desperately, Carlos Ambrosio, desperately trying to keep some temperature out of the tyre on the straight.
Malicelli's just gone back out again. Yeah. Meantime, the 32 Viper.
Now that's an ISO brakes car, isn't it?
It's the Ayrton Intermotor machine.
Yeah.
With, I think at the moment, it's Jose Manuel de los Milagros at the wheel.
4 Spaniards and a Belgian in that team, and it is Huracan Central. Bradley, we can't see you just down there at the moment, so get yourself down to...
Let's go down to Joe Bradley.
I am, mate. I'm totally in the way, not just of the 21 car, but also of the number 10 Mercedes of Hoffa Racing. It's just come in behind the 2 Huracans that are they're both on the pit apron now, side by side. The 21 car, Milo Pavlovic, has just had some air bled out of the tyres, that's all. Had a look at the condition of the tyres, and certainly the edges of the tread look very melted, so they are working, as you said, Martin, working the edges of the tyre just off the sidewall. That's where the damage is taking its toll out there on the track. Both the Lamborghini Huracans sitting now on their air jacks, looking very splendid, as is the number 10 Mercedes. I think with time ticking down towards the final 15 minutes of this qualifying session, things beginning to get tense now.
Car Collection Motorsport number 5, Renger van der Zande out of the car in the garage. Still 21 minutes to go. Not used to these long sessions now, used to the 15-minute dashes that we see in more series. GC Automobiles, been a staunch supporter of this series down through the years. And the V10 engined machine, purpose-built racing car out on the circuit. As in comes the 33, Lance David Arnold in the Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah, that GC10 V8 has got the look of a 3 Series BMW about it, hasn't it? But it is a proper space frame special. And presumably BMW Motorsport V8 as well.
I do get the impression...
It's V10. Sorry, it is a V8. It's called a GC10, but it is a V8. Yes, you're right. I was wrong. I said V10 earlier on. Sorry, Bob.
No, I just get the impression that the rain is coming down heavier at the moment, and because times are getting even worse, going up and up. We're now in the 220s is the best that anybody's done recently. Plus the fact that those who are coming past us, high up view down of the pit lane, most are coming into the pits rather than staying out on the track. So,
although to confound you, Sven Bart has just done a 210 in the number 149 Corvette. All right, it's not a 206, but it is certainly the quickest lap that car has done.
Just need to be careful with some of the times we see, because you can do a quicker time coming into the pits, and then I think that would be voided out later on.
Matteo Malicelli has just done a 206.9. Now the fastest lap for that car of all is a 206.6. So again, same driver may have, he's only come out of the pits a couple of laps ago, so he may have absolutely fresh wets on, and that might be enough maybe just to bring him closer to where he needs to be. The 32 Viper Competition Coupe, the Isobrakes sponsored Intermotor car. Now, it's just as well that the Viper is a very long car, because the entry list of the drivers is Jesus Diaz Villarreal, Tony Castillo, Jose Manuel de los Milagros, Jean-Michel Jerome, and the man who's actually got the tightest name, Jose Monroy, who only uses 10 letters, whereas most of the others are well into triple figures almost of their names. And as with almost all Spaniards, the name that they actually write down is probably only, the bit above the waterline of the actual family name.
We have got now 18 minutes to go. You're listening to live coverage from the first and only qualifying session for the SP6, the 997 Porsche class and the A6, the 997 Porsche class and the SP2s. These are the cars at the sharp end of the International Endurance Series. It's Martin Haven, John Hindhaugh, Joe Bradley is in the pits and Paul Truswell is alongside us as well, keeping an eye on what's going on the timing screens. And at the moment, I think, Paul, it is as you were, as people just wait to see what's happening with the conditions before they decide to throw another set of hand-cut wet weather tyres.
The problem is, as we were hearing from Joe earlier on, the pit lane overhang means that the guys who are in the pits can't necessarily tell what the conditions are around the circuit. So you've kind of got to be out there in order to find out whether or not the conditions are improving. But I think the clever money at the moment is that the conditions aren't improving, and so it's not that easy to improve your times.
Well, Hofer Racing just sending out the number 10 Mercedes with Christian Frankenhout, as in comes Matteo Manicelli in the number 4 Ferrari, having gone almost as quick as he did before, but it is raining consistently now.
It's bizarre, isn't it, Martin, because we can see that it's raining quite heavily, but everybody, quite a lot of the guys in the pit lane, and maybe Joe Bradley can have a word with this, a lot of the crew members still wearing shorts down in the pit lane, because it's clearly not cold down there, Joe.
It's not cold at all. It's very humid, but it's warm, but it's wet. I'm with Kenneth Heyer. I got that right, didn't I, Kenneth? Out of the number 10 Hofer Mercedes, who we've just watched change on to brand new wets. Now, what's the thinking, Kenneth? Are we going to just sacrifice a set of wets to get a time there?
Yeah, the free practice was a bit different because it was light rain anymore. And then the times go faster with all the tires. I think now it makes sense to be as long on the track the last 18 minutes as possible for a driver, because Christian can adapt every round. And the new tires, even then they have a little peak, so you can use it for, I think, in the third round from there for 2 or 3 rounds. The rain is a bit longer than a slick tire. Yeah, and we stay out and hope for the best of the possibilities.
What's the feedback from Christian regarding the possibility, if any, of going on to slicks towards the end of the session? I know it's getting there, just over 10 minutes left.
Yeah, normally you do the round in the last of the seconds. We cross the finish line and the last rounds will be the fastest. But now we have heavy rain, so that means it's not too good to see here in the grid, because when you don't see on dark things, that's so much. It's a lot now. So even the traffic will be a big key factor. So you have to be out. It's like in Formula 1. It's everywhere the same. When it's so much rain, you have to be outside to get the best traffic round, and then sometimes a round, even when you don't get it so good sorted out in the car, it's faster because you have 6 cars less overtaking.
Actually, we have got 15 minutes left because of the 5-minute delay. Just noticing there how slippery it is for Christian in your car, just on the TV over your shoulder. Is that because the new wets are taking a little bit of bed in?
Yeah, for sure. It's absolutely that. That's a fact why we do it.
So we're going to see Christian's optimum lap in about 2 or 3 laps, would you say?
I think something like that. In the rain for 3 laps then, but in 5 to 8 minutes we have our time, and that's it.
Thanks, Kenneth. Great to talk to you. Thank you, mate.
Kenneth Hare down there in the pit lane. Paul Truswell, before that run then, in the last few minutes, probably a good idea. We've got 3 classes out there. The A6s are 2, the 4 at the moment, 5, 7 and 4. The Mercedes-Benz, Porsche and Ferrari. How are the other classes looking? SP2 and 997 as far as their qualifying is going?
Yeah, as far as the Porsches are concerned, it's the number 54, the DriveX Porsche, which is leading the way at the moment. Daniel Schneider in the car that he shares with Gilberto Farah, Eduardo Azevedo and Carlos Ambrosio with Ricardo Mauricio, a 5-driver team in that one. That's the leading 997 class car. In second in 997 class is car number 17, the Ruffia Racing car with the Lafargue brothers, with Dimitri Angelbert and Gabriel Abrigel. And then third in the 997 class is car number 47, the B2F competition car, the 2 B2Fs being Benoit Fretin and Bruno Fretin. They're sharing with Pascal Collant and Michel Mitias. So that's the top three in 997. The times for the number 54 are 2 minutes 10.78. Second in the class for number 17 car, 2 minutes 12.484. And third in the class for 997, number 47 car is 2 minutes 12.5. So not much between those two. In SP2, the fastest car there is Milos Pavlovic in the number 21 Sportec Motorsport Lamborghini Huracan. That car's done a 2 minutes 7.599. Second in SP2 is number 13, the second of the Sportec Motorsport cars, Jürgen Krebs at the wheel, 2 minutes 8.243. And third in SP2 at the moment is car number 149, which is the RWT racing team car. Sven Bart, Jochen Kisch, Maximilian Stein, Patrick Assenheimer, and Gert Bison in the Chevrolet Corvette C5. So that's the third place car in SP2. That car is only 2 minutes 10.290. It's quite big gaps between the two Lamborghinis and the Corvette there in SP2, John.
And just while Paul was running through that, Christian Frankenhout going very deep into his repertoire of sliding sideways through chicane moments at the end of the race. But he came out with a 2:07.7.
Best lap the car's set. So that's the fresh tyres that we heard from his teammate. That's the first good lap he's had on those fresh tyres. His out lap, he slid off wide, didn't he? So
it almost looks like there's a dry line through the last chicane, 14 and 15. It's clearly not bone dry, but much drier. The Mark cars, by the way, out there at the moment, the best of them is the 93 Mark Cars Australia. That's the Mazda V8. Jake Camilleri, Berk Linton, Gary Jacobson, Dushavan Padiachi and Peter Leenhouse. It's Padiachi at the wheel of that
British
car.
Formula 3 racer. He raced over in Europe in previous
Should
cars.
mention that British GT racer Jade Edwards has joined that team this weekend as in the 92 car. Is looking forward to that. 93 with Padiachi at the wheel on the far side of the circuit from us at the moment. Going down the hill to the final corner. This car, if you're not aware of it, a really smart concept, is a space frame or a tube frame car that you can throw various body panels at. Got a couple of Ford Focus versions and one Mazda. It used the same crate motor, Ford V8 in the front of the car, rear wheel drive, and is really blazing a trail for endurance racing credentials. We've seen it at the 24 hours of Dubai and also the 12 hours of Bathurst. Right, Frankenhout on the circuit now, turn 3, stays to the left hand side of the circuit, looking for grip there. Will try and ease back maybe towards the apex. No, just stays on the outside line towards the bridge, brakes down into turn 4, gathers the car up as it really doesn't want to turn. He's struggling for front end grip and really putting too much lock in there more than he wants to. The very definition of understeer going into turn number 4. Downhill at 5. When you're offline, it really is hard to turn in. Meantime, just a moment or two ago, bit of an issue for the 20 Porsche Martin. That's at the first corner, and he actually went far enough off to make the gravel there for Charles Espenlaub.
Yeah, that's the Stars and Bars car, isn't it, with the US colours on it, and just fringed around the ground. Part of the problem there is the runoff area is full of crossways, sleeping policemen, sausages, so actually you almost want, for comfort's sake, to go for the gravel and fringe around it if you can. But that is a bit of a high-risk strategy, I'm afraid. Well, still, two cars have improved. The number 3 Valkenhorst Motorsport BMW Z4, improvement there for Jens Klingmann on the last lap. So again, like Christian Frankenhout and Bernd Schneider, who's out in the HP Racing number 2 Mercedes for the
he's
first
just
time.
a 7.5.
Yeah, he's set the fastest lap for that car as well. not enough to put it at the top of A6, but A6 now are the 9 fastest cars at the top of the pile.
Frankenhout to third. Frankenhout to third. And now we have, what now? 6 cars within half a second?
And that's a 2:06.5, so that's not just third, he's in a 2:08, so better than all the others. That's actually now challenging for pole. So everybody who's sat in the garage, thumb up, bum, brain in neutral, now's the time to get the car off the air jacks and get out on those. 8 minutes is enough for 3 flying laps, maybe 4 flying laps, Paul Trustwell. So now suddenly, I think the session could come very much alive.
What will be interesting actually now is to see whether Frankenhout can do another lap of that kind of quality, because there may be enough in the tyres, or it may be that he's routed the tyres, and so yes, you come out and you get on the track, and that's what we're seeing. A lot of cars coming out onto the track responding to that lap, but you've got to be careful that you don't then route the tyres that you have got.
Well, the number 5 Mercedes, which is at the moment on the provisional pole, he's fully aware, I don't know whether he's listening to you guys, but he's fully aware that the track is beginning to come to them and beginning to come to this the competitors in this session, because Renger van der Sande, who got out of the car, helmet off, and looked like job done, well, he's put that helmet back on and he's back out, and just in case he does not want the pole position snapped from him at the very last if the dry track and indeed a dry line does appear.
Well, he's not the only one, because of the top 9 cars now, 6 were in the garage and have all left.
Yeah.
So that lap, that single lap by Frankenhout, whether it was the last quick one he gets out of the tyres, or whether, as we heard from his teammate Kenneth Heyer, there might be even one more lap out of them. He said maybe you get 3 really good laps out of a new set. If he gets another one, it'll put him on the front row of the grid potentially, and as a result, the 2 cars that were quicker have responded, and so has everybody else in the top 10.
Yeah.
All going out on track now.
Renault's out there in the 7 Porsche. He's gone out again. Frankenhout improves again.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't. Excuse me. That's just him going across the line. 2:07.9. So
It's not
a second back. It's not bad.
I tell you what,
we saw how hard he was pushing as well. So that's the other aspect of it, is having the confidence in your car to be able to push as hard as you do.
Body English in Bernd Schneider's number 2 Mercedes showed that he was not hanging around either. I think the gauntlet's been thrown down by Frankenhout. Whether he's now shot his bolt and can't improve or not remains to be seen, but there is definitely a battle on for pole.
Just a quick note about the 29 car, the Audi R8 GT3 Ultra. The 29 car just getting a better time there and going up to 6th position. 6th position for the Audi. It's the only one here. Martin Goethe is in that car at the moment. Surprised that there aren't more Audis here, if I'm honest. Maybe the new car coming this year will either attract people in or will put some of the previous models into more private hands.
Well, it moves them on down the line, doesn't it? Because the things clearly still have value.
Pavlovich getting very sideways at the top of the chicane at turn number 13 as he heads down the hill and back towards the end of the lap.
That's his out lap from the pit, so he will have fresh rubber on. There is the Audi, the number 29 car.
Still wet enough to have wipers on out there, guys, for some of the cars at least. 164 GC Automotive BMW alike, just being passed by the 29 Audi at the moment on the run down to turn 10.
Milos Pavlovich has started his first flying lap. The number 21 car is in 9th place at the moment. We're seeing now cars starting to come back into the pits with only 4 minutes remaining. I was about to make the point earlier on that Frankenhout was out at the right time on fresh rubber and on a half-empty track. Now, for those that are chasing a time right now in the remaining 4 minutes, there's a lot more cars out there, and it doesn't take much for one to ruin your lap.
So we are down to under 4 minutes. Paul Trustwell.
Yeah, I'm not sure to what extent he was out at the right time, Martin, because I don't think the conditions actually have changed very much. I think what happened is people are actually making the effort, but it's the new fastest lap of all from the number 5 car, and that is,
But when he set his previous fastest lap, he also had new tyres. It is probably less wet now on the track, if not in the air, than it has been at any stage. Renger van der Zande goes quickest. Thomas Jaeger in the number 30 car for Ram Racing has just set 2:09, not their fastest time.
Frankenhout goes back into third position now. Malacelli has to get out there and respond, and indeed the Ferrari has just rolled out of the pit lane.
No time, there's 3 minutes left. He's not going to get a flyer unless he's really on it.
He'll get one
But he'll only
flyer.
get one.
That's all you need.
Yeah, but we've seen...
And the track will be empty. I think that's the key thing you said a moment ago, Martin.
47 car out on the circuit at the moment, the B2F competition. Porsche in the 997 category, sitting atop 1, 2, 3 in that category, I think. Yeah. And in that car at the moment is Michael Mitius.
New fastest lap for Sven Bart in the Corvette C2, the C5 rather, the 149 car. Third in SP2 still, and 3 seconds off the pole time set by Milos Pavlovic in number 21 car. Busy hands in the onboard. Well held, sir. Who's in that 997 Cup car?
That is
Let's have a look at
Michael
the
Mitius.
screen.
Spin, Michael Mitius, that was. Spin for the Car Collection Motorsport 27. And that is Elmer Grimm at the wheel of that car. And he's really nosed up as he's gone round at turn number 4. He's nosed up a number of people's laps who came round behind him. But hey-ho.
Well, we've got 1:50 on the clock. So
Frankenhout to second. Frankenhout on the front row. 2:06.1 on those older tyres. He's now making those work. Double yellows.
That's it. Qualifying's over.
Unless they can get that.
Unless
Mercedes
he can
moves.
reach the Mercedes.
Backwards,
Qualifying is
son.
over.
Come on, Elmer, you need to get that into reverse.
We just saw Matteo Malucelli going wailing by there. Now, because that was his beginning of his flying lap.
Van der Zande has gone quicker in the first sector than anyone else.
Now that's interesting.
That was
'cause
Malucelli
on
before.
On his previous best lap, he was only 5th in the first sector, fastest in the second, and only 3rd fastest. And there, that is it. Red flag is out. Qualifying has concluded. Will not be restarted for 1:05 on the clock. And that means that lap by Christian Frankenhout that triggered the drive from the pits for everybody else, brought one quicker lap out of Rengo van der Zande, who puts the number 5 car on pole, but Frankenhout himself got up to second.
He did 3 faster laps after that and was continuing to improve, Paul, on those older tyres. That was really nice strategy from those guys.
I think it was as much the fact that the conditions were worsening, but the drivers were really giving it everything they'd got, because it was Wembley. That was the only chance they had to actually do it. So and I think because it was wetter, the wet weather tyres weren't wearing out as much as they were when it was drizzling. But it was that kind of in-betweeny. I think it was Kenneth Heyer was saying it was that kind of in-betweeny drizzle. And I think towards the end, the track got properly wet, but it enabled the wet weather tyres to work properly.
Seeing much less spray off the cars, though, and even looking out of our window down onto the start-finish line.
Because they're going more slowly because of the red flag out.
Yeah, possibly. But they're leaving. They're leaving those marks on the track that you see when it's sort of just drizzle and not wet. We'll see.
So, Van der Zande from Frankenhout from Alfred Renner. So, Mercedes, Porsche, Ferrari, Mercedes in the top 5. Joe Bradley is down in the Car Collection Motorsport pit. A lot of happy, smiling people and backslapping going on there, Joe.
Yeah, I wish you had camera. In fact, have we got camera pictures from this pit down here? Because everyone is absolutely ecstatic. Let's just see who Rengo van der Zande, who did all the hard work there. Let's see who he's going to be sharing with. You can hear in the background. So who's in the pole position car then, guys? Are you guys out of the pole position car? Are you guys sharing the pole position car? No. So where? Aha, right. Mr. Machul. You must be over. Well, you are over the moon. The whole team are over the moon. That's fantastic.
I think it's a great moment for the team. So we have a great performance. We have a great team colleague who put us in pole position. So I think everybody is happy now. Now we have to relax a little bit, and tomorrow is a long race to go.
It certainly is, but it was a very tense qualifying session, wasn't it? Now, I saw Rengo van der Zande get out of the car, take his helmet off, and then all of a sudden he gets back in and starts all over again. What was that all about?
Obviously, I must say that this was a little bit planned to go in the beginning and to go in the end again. So we are quite relaxed in between. We are looking on the other times, on the other colleagues, how they did, and there we're getting close. So we say, okay, go out and do your best.
Well, round one goes to you guys. Well done, congratulations. I'm going to try and get a word with the teammate and the man who actually got that pole position. I'm sure you want to slap him on the back as well.
That's what you're going to do now when he comes. I think we're going to congratulate him, and I think he did a good job now.
Great stuff, he certainly has. Thank you.
Joe Bradley down in the pit lane with the pole-sitting car collection motorsport team. Alexander Matchell there speaking to Joe Bradley with the 5 car, I think, still in the fuel stop. Yes, it is. Just being topped off at the moment, or pumped out, of course. Could be the other thing that they're doing down there. That was pretty interesting at the front of the field, given that we might have thought with the rain it might not be that exciting, Martin Haven.
Well, absolutely right. Now, where Joe was is kind of where he needs to stay, obviously to speak to Renger, who is the pole sitter and tops the A6 class, topping the SP2 class as well in the number 21 Lamborghini Milos Pavlovic. So there's another class pole sitter we can talk to. And Riccardo Maurizio. Now, I don't know if he set the lap, but he was the last driver in the 54 Porsche, the 997 car that will start 14th. As the lineup is at the moment, but is the 997 pole sitter. So if Joe's got a moment before Renger gets there, because he is still at the fuel stop, obviously looking for more Green Shield stamps, maybe we can catch up with Milos Pavlovic and get a feel for the conditions, whether they were getting drier, wetter, no change, or quite how it was going out on track. You can see that Joe is there or thereabouts. He's tall, floppy dark hair. Not Joe, obviously.
I think Milo does fit that description. Milo Pavlovic. We were speculating just how tricky the conditions were in that qualifying session. It looked very, very slippery. Is that what you found the Lamborghini?
Yes, that's exactly what we found, and the trouble was it was not too wet, it was not too dry, and as you can see, some cars were fitted with slicks and they found it all right, but for us was impossible, no grip whatsoever. So basically we had to use a 1 lap window margin to use the tires because we would overheat them. So I just hope we're not going to get something like this in the race because we are not suited for this kind of weather, either wet, either dry, but this for us would be a problem.
I'm sorry to say that is the forecast to be a little bit of rain sometime during the race. Is that going to cause you guys a huge amount of problem?
Well, no, I don't know. We need to look into the data and see exactly what happened because definitely we are not getting enough heat in the tire when we have this kind of weather, out of the slicks obviously, and we just need to understand why. So if we do that, if we're good enough to do that, then I'm not worried about anything.
Milo, when was the last time you raced here at Barcelona?
2009 Formula 2, long time ago, too long ago.
And what was that, Formula GP2?
No, Formula 2. There was a short period of time when Formula 2 was born. I raced here in GP2 the year before and then Formula 2 the year after, and then that was it for a while.
And what do you think of this circuit in relation to sports cars and your car? Does it suit it, or is it too, certainly some sections of the track is a little bit tight?
Well, I'll tell you something. I love this circuit. It's a Formula 1 circuit. It's a beautiful track. It's in a beautiful country, beautiful atmosphere, beautiful weather, and all that. So that helps. The only thing that I don't like is the last 2 corners, but unfortunately, that's Formula 1 rules, and we have to stick with it. But apart from that, the rest of the circuit just flows magnificently.
I think we all agree. Thanks for talking to us, and hopefully, we're all praying for the sunshine, just like you.
Now, by remote control, we're going to get Joe to move 2 garages to his left, downstream in the pit lane, because
towards pit out,
pushed in behind him, and Joe's there already, is the number 5 car. So he's looking for Renger van der Zande to talk to our pole sitter for Saturday's start.
Yeah, it's been a difficult... is Joe with us?
Yes, I am.
Joe.
I have got the pole sitter indeed. The pole sitter for the Barcelona 24 hours. Congratulations, Renger van der Zande. Tell us, that was a very tricky session for everyone, but you were the fastest guy.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I mean, we went out and it started to rain, just when it started to rain. So we knew you have to be out there first. And it never really got to heavy rain. So we could take it easy in the middle. It kept raining all the way through. We had pole for a long way until the end. And we thought, just to make sure, we'll go out for another set of tires, brand new Hankooks. And
were they wet tires?
Yeah, they were for sure wet. Yeah, it was too wet for slicks. We went out for one more lap, and I think I even improved my lap time to a 5.9 or something, so I'm very happy. The car collection team is one of the better teams out here now, so I'm very proud of them, and we came from a long way, and I think they should be very proud of themselves.
You're going to be the least worried about rain during the race, I would imagine, because you guys are the quickest in the wet. Would you be able to carry that pace into the race if the conditions are the same?
If the conditions are the same, for sure, and also in the dry we are really well on pace. I mean, this morning even we were really fast on the dry as well. So the setup is very good, and I think it's going to be dry tomorrow. So just stick to the lead and give it to my teammates and see where we end up.
Yeah, I've seen conflicting weather forecasts, but just out of interest, if the conditions were like this in the race, would it be a case of just running those tyres till they're absolutely destroyed within that fuel window?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if it's going to dry out, you always want to be on low pressures on the wet tires. And basically, if it's with slicks in half conditions, you want to be on high pressure. So that's the game that the team has to play. And the driver has to take care of his tires, not to wear them out too much. And then you can have a long stint on the wets as well. So it's a game, like you say. It's managing the tires and trying to keep them alive for the whole stint that you have to do.
So big party now for the next half hour before you have to get back in the car?
Straight to Barcelona, discoteca.
Congratulations, well done. Pole position there.
Yeah, for Car Collection Motorsport, and the man who set the lap, Renger van der Zande, talking to Job Bradley. Job, just before you hand over, if you can whiz down to Garage 37, please, and see if you can find Jay Mooney from the Clio number 121. He has tweeted us. They're going out next. He may be getting ready to get in the car, so you might have to hustle down there. Said some very nice things about us on Twitter. Working in the same pit lane as legends, he said. That was obviously when Shea was in there earlier, although not when Joe was there. You're listening to RadioLeMans.com. We're live from the International Endurance Series powered by Hankook. It's the 24 hours of Barcelona. RadioLeMans.com and www.24hseries.com in sound and vision this evening on the series website, plus on RadioLeMans.com as well. If you go to the series tab and look up IES, that'll get you onto the page, and there is a pop-out player with the pictures that we're seeing here in the booth. Paul Truswell has the other results from that category here. Paul?
Yeah, I was just not hearing you very well in my headphones there. I don't know if that was something that you had done, but all of a sudden it didn't quite seem
hopefully not
as it should have done. Yes, in terms of the other classes, the 997 class was led by the number 54 car in the end there, which was the car of...
That's the DriveX car, their 991 Cup car. Riccardo Maurizio was the last man in it. I'm not sure whether he set the time. He did early in the session.
Daniel Schneider set the time. I think he was in it for pretty much the whole of the session. And Milos Pavlovic, as we heard from, the fastest car in SP2. Green flag already being shown for opening the pit lane for the slower cars, A3T, SP3, A5 and A2 and D1 being out then in this session. Expect times, I would say, it's going to be interesting to compare those with the time of René van der Zande, depending on what the weather does in the next 45 minutes. But depending on what the conditions are, I'd be say to expect times in about 2:20s at best, until it starts to dry out. But then we might see the front cars in this grid moving up onto the tail of the faster cars.
So what we're looking at here, we've basically had the GT cars, and now we've got the touring cars.
Essentially, that's right. Yeah, I mean the A3Ts and the A5s are pretty powerful. some of the SP3s may not look quite like touring cars, but
But they might look like it. They probably, if you knock with your knuckles, don't sound quite like a metal car.
No door slammers there.
No.
Quick word just for the car collection team, just before we get times coming through for this, because I don't know, they're one of those teams that I kind of have a soft spot for, because the car collection team and Preventic, I don't know, the whole thing, it's almost as if Preventic races were entirely built for the people who are involved in that team, because it's all about enthusiasts, it's all about gentlemen drivers. You know, they don't have a big budget, they work on the cars for nothing. I mean, you know, you're not talking about salaried employees or anybody getting paid to be there. They're all kind of taking time off work to be here. And they've not had a great season, having not finished either of the 24-hour races that we've had this season so far.
Oh, really?
Neither at Dubai nor at Paul Ricard's, this car collection car. Because there are two car collection cars, and the other one, the one that's labelled car collection 2, that one's had much better results than the car collection 1. So the Rennie van der Zande car is really kind of, I don't know,
Flagship.
the one that may not be positioned well in the championship, but deserves a good result here in Barcelona.
Thank you, Paul. Paul Trustwell. We've got the Tourers out on track. Remember, it will be the Tourers solely first, second and third of April next year, when the series comes back or at least the 24-hour racing comes back to Silverstone in the UK. And so looking forward to that immensely. The 102 decibel limit precluding anything more raughty than the touring cars. And that has been a problem for the previous iterations of that event, but back with a vengeance, already getting on for double figures of cars entered for that event, and it was only announced yesterday, or Wednesday should I say. Quite remarkable. The 101 Seat. Now the old Super Copas are the older cars, so the newer cars, I've done a bit of research now, and with help from the collective as well. The Euro Cup LR is definitely one of the newer cars.
Now, does LR, do we think, stand for long range?
I like the idea. I like that. The 101 Red Camel Jordan's NL Ivo Bruyker's car is just labelled as a Seat Leon Cup Racer. That has got the new headlights and the new front end to it, so that's relatively new, but it doesn't have quite the same body kit on as the LRs, so they are slightly different. Seeing the number 100 race our team manager, that's the Motorsport Development, one of the Seat Leon Euro Cup entries, Oliver Mari, Gilles Courtois, Monjean Gerard and Sébastien Dusselier. That manager has been asked to go to race direction.
Yeah, he was quite a while ago. That message has been on long since.
I like the idea of these touring cars at Silverstone, and I'm going to say it now, I am going to do everything I can to get a drive in that race. I think that would be quite a lot of fun.
Well, that means I'm going to have to do everything I can to commentate on that race.
Yes, and obviously you'd be looking at every 10th of a second.
I will, obviously.
The Drive X2 Audi R8 GT3 Ultra manager from the last session being asked to report to race direction. Let's see what some of these times are coming in. 2:19 is the best for the Peugeot 208, which is number 208. Right at the bottom of the entry list, this is the Team Ultron Tour GTI. Guillaume Roman, Michael Carlsen from Denmark, Kim Holmgaard from Denmark, and the second of the French drivers there, Marc Rostin, who is a name to conjure with, isn't he?
Former French Super Tourism and GT champion.
It's not in the car.
Not Super Tourism.
It's Guillaume Roman by the timing screen who's at the wheel of that, and his time has just been usurped by the APO Sport Porsche 997 GT4 Cup car, with at the wheel of that Alex Osborne. Well, Alex knows how to pedal a car, and the wet weather shouldn't slow him down either.
Another British GT racer who's out here, 2:17.5. So that's a decent enough lap.
And that's the best of the SP3 cars, by the way. Best of the Year 5 cars, just popping up into second place.
Dutchman Simon Knapp. Now, he races BMW regularly in the GT4.
Now, this is an interesting car, the MDM Motorsport car, because it's a World Touring Car shaped car,
yes,
but with a diesel engine in it.
Well, now, also, several of the old 3 Series World Touring Car cars have started racing with other engines, like the V8 Motorsport M3 engine. We're also now looking at the Maserati. The Mignon Gignon, as it has been renamed.
Maserati Gran Turismo.
If you follow me at Martin Haven on Twitter, you'll see my picture feed today. You will see why.
No.
And so, yeah, so the Boutsen Mignon team, or Mignon Gignon, as they've now been renamed.
Well, it's great to see another variety of car right in behind the second place 147 there.
Simon Knapp's BMW.
Yeah.
If only Neil Hudson of Touring Car Times was here, he could probably tell us whose car that was originally. He'd probably say, oh yeah, that's Felix Portero's BMW Team Italia Spain car from the 2008 championship, or what have you. I noticed actually there's a Seat Leon diesel as well, which presumably is also an ex-World Touring Car chassis.
I think that car is an ex-motorsport car, actually. I think we've had this discussion before about the BMW, and they did run them in the Nürburgring, the WTCC spec cars with diesel engines as well, I seem to remember.
No. It wasn't a World Touring Car spec car. It wasn't a Super 2000 regs. It was the Super Group N diesel regs or whatever it was.
No, it was WTCC because it was in the name of the car. They had 3 or 4 works drivers in it about 3 or 4 years ago.
Okay.
It is a very, very standard looking car. That was at the time when the World Touring Car regs were... they really did look like taxis, didn't they? Rather than just having the taxi racing, they just did look like taxis.
Number 75 BMW we're looking at, which is in a sort of blue and bright green livery that makes me think of the factory MG ZF.
Oh yes,
Do you
very
see what
good.
I'm saying?
Yes, very good.
Not ZF,
ZRs and ZSs, yeah.
ZS, yeah.
The rally cars were the same. Yeah, if that was grey instead of blue,
yes,
that would be
in
right
the
there.
dim light we've got here, it could be Anthony Reid, couldn't it?
Yeah, or Gwyn Duff Evans.
Yeah. Yes, okay, fair enough.
Well, no, they were the same.
Yes,
It was the works colours, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's the Hofer Cooper Racing BMW the venerable E46 M3 Coupe that still just turns up with a nice old set of motorsport rims on there as well that looks very stock. The Ginettas have certainly made their mark on the championship. 163 out there sliding around. Optimum Motorsport, the G55 car.
And that was the car that was going very quickly in its class in free practice. Adrian Barwick, Bradley Ellis, former British GT champion, Will Moore, another GT4 racer in Ginettas in the UK recently, and Flick Haig, who is one of the lady drivers in the field. She went quickly in that car. And Twisted Motorsport, of course, running Ginetta, or Twisted running Ginettas with Optimum Motorsport in the UK and British GTs.
And if you're not sure, Twisted, as far as I'm aware, are a specialist company building very, very nice Land Rovers.
Yes. If you think your Land Rover Defender isn't rugged enough, they can rugged it for you. That is a word.
Or street it. Apparently, it can be urbanised.
It can be pimped, blinged, or ruggeded. And yes, Eve, that's a word.
It is now.
I've used it twice, it must be. Capricorn Racing's Seat Leon Super Copa, we're just looking at on screen, that's the number 90 car. High me to a timing screen of import. I have to flick now, aren't I, because I can't see to page 2, and it's not on page 1. The MG has arrived in the pit lane.
The BMW, the Stuttgart, the Munich-built MG.
And that is currently lying 20th in the class, number 75 car, or in the standings. So that is Sarai Palavets from Belarus, stroke the Czech Republic.
So head down to Shea Adam, who has replaced Joe Bradley in the pit lane. Shea, good evening.
Oh, I could never replace replace Joe Bradley. He does too many weird things that I refuse to do, quite honestly.
Hey, hang on, you were sniffing fluids earlier on.
Well, that's true. I am learning from him, I guess. That's odd. I need to fix that. So I was just walking down the pit lane and noticed that the 89 Red Camel racing car, it's sitting back here in bits and pieces. And when I asked one of the mechanics what happened, he said, our driver hit another car. He sounded less than happy, but they're optimistic that they can get the car fixed before the start of the race. They don't think they'll be back out tonight. A lot of changes going on in the pit lane, setup and tire. I'm seeing a lot of slicks being brought out and getting ready for drivers. And the most notable difference, it's at least 15 degrees Fahrenheit cooler than when I was last out here. So the temperatures are dropping, and they're dropping quickly.
This won't come as a hardship to you, Shay. 2 of the 3 cars that have not left the pit lane so far are Aston Martins. They won't be hard to find. We know where they live, don't we? So the number 165 and 170 car, which is Vantage Racing and Speedworks Motorsport, neither Aston Martin Vantage has left the pit lane yet. So maybe if you can catch up with them, they do all speak English, because almost all the drivers are English. So you've already reported on one of our 3 non-starters. The other 2 probably ought to get on with it a bit.
That was the sack here, by the way, the chair was down at. MHM Motorsport Seat Leon Super Cobra in A3T, the green and yellow car, sitting in behind the 125 Butian Mini Engineering car at the moment. Looks like the bonnet is not completely secured on that car. That might be a little bit of an issue. Let's go back down to Shea in the pit lane.
Evo Breakers, we always love chatting with you on RadioLeMans.com, but especially this weekend because, as I understand, you have a special co-driver. Who would that be?
Our co-driver, you mean in the Seat Leon, you mean? It's Milan Donje, but probably you mean my son, Rick Breukers. Yes, he's on the car as well.
I seem to remember you saying at Bathurst a few years ago that he would be able to drive with you when his grades got better. Has that happened?
Yes, that has happened already. We were in the 12 hours of Zandvoort, and I drove together with my son and Tom Coronel, and it's really fun. It's really fun, yes.
And how old is he?
He's 17 years old, and he's also on the SLS from Rengen van der Zande, so he's in 2 cars. It's just a pole position, which is awesome.
Think he can do 2 poles in one day?
Well, that's too early to say for that, but we will do our best.
And what's the strategy for the race, driving with your son? Are you going to stay up and watch him?
Basically, he's on the SLS. If something would happen to the SLS, he will do a stint with us. But not too much. We'll concentrate with our 3 guys, and he can concentrate on the SLS, on the A6, which is a little bit more difficult than our car. So.
But it's all about having fun in the end.
Yes, it's all about having fun in the racing and enjoying the race together.
Always a smile on your face. Thank you, Eva.
Good to see you.
He is very smooth, isn't he? Milan Donja, incidentally, also 17 years old, so half the driving force, younger than 1/4 of the driving force, oh dear.
Stop it. Johannes Kragliga reminds me, Schnitzer won the 1998 N24 with a diesel engine 320 Super Touring chassis, but Schubert did indeed run a WTCC spec E92 BMW in the VLN and the N24. So my old
with a diesel engine?
Maybe not then, but I remember the WTCC cars, but spec cars being in there, and they had some of the drivers there as well. I know my brain is a bit old, but I'm still got some vestiges of a memory.
But the factory diesel BMW 3 Series, I'm sure, was not a World Touring car. I'm not certain, but I don't believe it was a World Touring car.
No, it might well have been the Super Touring chassis. You're right, back in '98, but that was long before my time at the Nürburgring. I only went in 2007. That was my first one there, so it would have been later on than that. Still out there, the BMW number 75, which has at the wheel. Is that Martin Kroll behind the wheel of that?
Hard to tell. There's 2 Krolls in the car.
Yeah, I think it is Martin.
From the pit lane, news of our cartoon liveried Peugeot RCZ. Michel Vaillant, who non-French speakers may not know, but motorsport fans will know Michel Vaillant as a comic strip cartoon. When I say comic strip, I don't mean... in the form of someone like, say, Superman, who's got it's a realistic thing. Michel Vaillant, part of the scion of a family of French-based car designers and manufacturers who also race. Michel Vaillant won many Grand Prix, has won Le Mans countless times, has defeated all sorts of different machinery, and in the latest book that's come out in the Michel Vaillant line, is being promoted by being on the car here. Jean-Louis Daugé, who's part of the driving crew, reports, I saw the car coming very slowly past us. It's stuck in gear. They can't change gears. So the Milan competition team is now sorting out that number 119 Peugeot, and it was Denis Joubeau, I think, who was driving it at the time. So that's their problem, so that's why they're in the garage, but we still don't know why the two Astons haven't bothered to venture out into the damp.
Graphic novels, that do.
BD, bon désigné, but graphic novel is exactly the translation I'm looking
for the 23, sorry, the 43, the very car we were talking about, was it not?
No, that's the 43 Porsche, the KTM RS car.
Right. APO Sport car,
yeah.
James May, Alex Osborne and Paul May. That's the third place car and has just gone back out.
And that was Alex.
Lock up on the front, lock up on the back, on down change, and a very, very odd entry into turn number 5.
You know what that was? Got it.
Don't have it.
Got it. No, it got away from me. That's the Patisserie Valerie car, matte black, almost exclusively, just with that one sponsor's name written on it.
Capricorn Racing's older version of the Seat Leon. That's a Super Coupe. It's the dark red car, but for the flared arches would look actually quite showroom stock. Into the petrol station right in front of us. They're very pretty.
And very, very hard working looking at it as well. You look at it in long shot and you go, yeah, that looks quite neat. Up close, that's done a lot of work, that car. He went through the petrol station but didn't stop for anything.
Maybe just finding out where it was. 16th position in this category.
And that's the Chrysler team. Now, the Chrysler are the group that take an awful lot of Danish fans to Le Mans, aren't we?
It's Jakob Christensen who's at the wheel of that. That's Tom's brother. Aston is out.
A Aston is out.
Anne Aston, Speedworks Motorsport. You're going to pick me up on what I said earlier on. It's Anne Aston, surely.
No. That she was
on the golden shot with Paul.
Burning the bolts. The blue and yellow. So the blue and white one is out. The blue and yellow one has yet to appear.
It's Stefan Modell who has gone out the wheel of the SP3. Shea Adam is down in Aston Land. Shea, what news?
Well, clearly they heard that Martin Haven asked me to come down this way because all 3 cars have just gone out. The third of which, the blue and yellow one, was leaving pit lane just as I got to its box and decided to pull away.
Why do you think I sent you there?
Well, the reason that they probably weren't going out is what we're seeing now up and down pit lane. Everybody across the board is coming in to put on slicks.
No way.
The Aston Martins didn't have to do that because they were already on them as they pulled out onto the pit lane.
Yeah, didn't burn a set of tyres. Shea, I mentioned this to Joe, but if you can womble at some stage...
Womble?
Down to... Shea won't know what that means.
Joe wombles?
To garage number 37 and see if Jay Mooney from the number 121 Clio is around. He seems to think that we are... RadioLeMans.com is of legendary status and we should stick him on the radio.
37 Mooney, I'm going.
Yeah, that's the Preptech Clio, isn't it? The Preptech UK car.
37 garage 121 car.
Dan Brown, incidentally, to bring us up to speed and round off the Aston Martin story. Devon Modell's in 170. Dan Brown is in the 165 blue and yellow car. Devon Modell, reigning British GT4
champion, yeah.
I should know this, but...
What do you do once a fortnight?
Yeah, try and remember what it was that happened a month ago. The Boutsen Ginian Maserati has come down.
That is a lovely looking car.
It's a lovely sounding car as well, unless there's 23 of them all coming past, in which case, like Formula 3 cars, they all sound the same, and it's a drone. It is a nice car.
I do like the Gran Turismo, and it's just another different shape. It's looking rather Batmobile this weekend in black with the very orange striping on all the edges of everything. And when I say Batmobile, I mean the original television series, not any of the movies, of course. So this is the other classes than the top 3, and at the moment, the best time is by an A3T car, as we've had a gravelly moment for the 85.
Well,
this is RCA Racing.
Now, officially, this is they've identified the cars in no way
Intersport
whatsoever.
Racing,
They're both black and orange, and so therefore it's one of the Intersport team cars that they couldn't be bothered to show us the difference in. That's the only time we'll know the difference, is when you can see the number on the side. Two British crewed cars, and the British Intersport Racing team with two identical BMWs.
Oh yes, absolutely. Cher has made her way down to garage 37 and to the Clio number 121.
And it's Jay Mooney who you sent me to find, and the tall man standing next to me is none other than Jay. You're an assistant team manager. It's your first weekend in this role, and you were a bit glassy-eyed and wowed earlier. Still feeling that way?
Very much so. We arrived pretty much in awe of the event because we're very much on the club racing scene in the UK, so this is a big step up for the whole team, really. I mean, our drivers race in Fiestas and MGs and single-seaters in the UK, so to be here and surrounded by the likes of the Schneiders, the Bleeker-Molins, the Onslow cars is a big step up for everyone. So we're sort of cautiously optimistic about things. We know what endurance racing's about, but yeah, we're just sort of finding our feet for now, but so far so good.
So what's the motivation to come and race in a series like this?
Well, I mean, for me and a lot of the guys, we've been brought up around endurance racing. You know, Le Mans is like the place to be. So it's a very tricky, progression to get that far. So this event and this series in particular gives us the opportunity to really, sample that scene and be around the kind of machinery that's around here is incredible. So, some of the drivers are very young. They may yet get there, but for me to be involved in this is amazing. It's a passion. It's not my day job, but to be here is living a dream for me.
And the new car, it's reliable for you, the Clio Cup car?
Yeah, I mean, it's been brilliantly prepared by Oliver and the PrepTech guys. We kind of knew that in this class, in the A2 class, the Clio is very reliable. It's a strong runner. So if the guys can get up to speed and get used to the circuit, then hopefully we can have a decent finish. Obviously, we just want to finish, and then we'll see what happens. We're in the lap of the gods. Anything can happen. The conditions could change. So we've got faith in the car. We know it's been built well. It's been well maintained. If the drivers can just keep going around, keep circulating, who knows where we'll be come Sunday?
What would be a good result for the team? Do you guys just want to finish, or do you hope for a little bit more?
I think we've got to be realistic and say just to finish would be a great result. From here, we're not going to do Brno, but we're going to plan for Dubai after here. We want to try and get the car on a diet and make it a bit lighter. There's still work to do in that respect. So I think to be a strong finish and hopefully, I don't want to dream of a podium, but, we've got to aim at some point and we just want to finish at the minute.
Fourth in class at this point, you're doing well for a start.
Yeah, definitely.
Cher Adam down with Jay Mooney in the pit lane. He sent us a text, or a tweet, should I say, at Specutainment, to say sharing the pit lane with legends and Rachel Le Mans.
With legends and Joe Bradley.
Yeah.
We should have sent former Clio Cup team manager Joe Bradley down to give them some advice, because that would have helped. Obviously, if you want to lighten the Clio Cup car, what you do is you go to a Clio Cup race and wait for all your rivals to knock bits off it. At least here, there's very few other Clio Cup cars to knock the bits off, so their damage repair bill should be considerably lower.
There's another one, the 114 car at the moment, that's just been off the circuit, the Presencia EU racing team. And that is a Clio Cup endurance car that has had a little bit of work done on it. The new Seats are certainly a weapon. It was a spin for the 114 machine.
One of two cars that team's running. They've got 112 as well, which is an identical machine.
They were at Dubai as well at the start of the season, if my memory serves. I think they were the last cars on the grid, actually. It's Dubai. But everyone's setting their own agenda. The 138 coming down to the first corner. There's the Michael Vaillant art strips.
Michel, yeah. Well, again, we now have... I have a picture of our colleague Dave down there. So two different types of cartoon characters.
Don't say that in front of Dave.
You can see there.
He thinks he's real.
You can see there some of the artwork from the Michel Vaillant book. And Michel Vaillant also, the last book that was out, which was the first after a big period of no Michel Vaillant annuals, came out 3 or 4 years ago now, and that was marked by Alain Menu as Michel Vaillant racing in the World Touring Car Championship with a fully Michel Vaillant livery Chevrolet, including the truck, the air guns. I mean, no detail was too
That was an
great.
RML car, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
And don't forget that 2 of the garages at Le Mans were due to a Michel Vaillant entry at Le Mans in 2002.
2 entries.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
two entries. Yeah, sorry, no, I thought it was later
again,
than that. It was
about
2005.
well over a decade between the last two
Yeah.
books coming out, and that was for the film.
Exactly so, but as I say,
McCarthy.
because they had 2 cars in the entry, they built 2 extra garages, so they didn't take 2 garages away from existing entries.
Did they fill the gap between the shame, the row of war, and the?
No, they had actual garages in the main garage row, but because that then meant
Yes,
that there
yes,
was not
yes,
enough room,
yes. And that you're absolutely right.
the lean-tos were added.
No, there are only 2 added, but John's absolutely right. There was a gap between where the lean-tos were and where the main pit garages were, and that added the extra one.
Paul Truswell, John Hindhaugh and Martin Haven up in the booth, and down in the pit lane it's Shea Adam, the 98 new version of the Seat Leon Cup car, circulates for NKPP Racing, another team who have been with this for quite some time, and they now have the fastest time for Guy Besson, who is in that car at the moment. Very easy to spot with the green LEDs on the front.
Now that team, or that car, although it's entered under the entry of NKPP, it's been run by Bas Kouten, who's a well-known Dutch championship racing team. And in fact, one of the guys, Roger Graals, races with Bas Kouten in the only current spec Viper that is racing in Europe, or at least the first current spec Viper is racing there. Now racing a Viper for the second year this series with Bas Kouten. So they've got an awful lot of experience, not necessarily just with that car.
In the pit lane at the moment, the Auto Parts DK Racing Renault Clio, Sonny Nielsen, Niels Nijbo, Ollie Kitkard, Tim Sonderholm and Christian Reiter.
Another fastest lap by the Ginetta. So we've got an SP3 car now to the top of the field, having had A3T cars before at the top. We've now got the 163. Bradley Ellis did a very quick time in the free practice session earlier this afternoon. He's now put in a 2 minutes 11.061 to go quickest in this qualifying session, and put the Ginetta provisionally on the pole position time for SP3 and the slower cars.
And the A5 provisional pole, sorry Martin, is the Securtal Zorg Rennsport BMW 235 machine, sitting in 5th position at the moment in A5. A5 is the BMW class, isn't it? No, it's not, is it?
Strictly speaking, it's not a BMW class. It's for large engine touring cars of, I think, over 3 litres or over 2.5 litres.
3 to 3.5.
Yeah, so that's a racing cup car that's not racing in the racing cup class.
Presumably because it's got a motorsport V8 in it.
No, I think it is. I think they've just decided to go into the other class to give themselves a shot. Securtal Zorg Rennsport have been around this championship for quite a while and are very, very competitive indeed. Used to run the Racing Divas car for a while. 101 across the line in front of us now. Red Camel Jordan's NL, the bright Dutch orange colours of the Seat Leon Cup racer, and up to...
No, it remains in second. Oh no, that has gone up to second. That's Milan Doncic, one of the two 17-year-olds. Now again, he started racing last year in a similar car to this in the Dutch Supercar Challenge. This year he is one of the championship contenders in a C6R. So for a 17-year-old, he has gone way up to the top of the power leagues.
Has anybody worked out what the coloured dots next to the cars mean?
Yeah, they're all for different classes.
No, they're not.
Are they not?
No, they're not. Because is it the colour of the car, by any chance?
I don't know.
Quite sure.
I was going to say who's in the lead of the D1 diesel class, but the only one of the names I can even remotely to try and pronounce is Norbert Nagy, so I'm possibly not going to.
What's the
I
car
might need
number?
work on that.
It's number 139, the RCM Motorsport, Lithuanian Seat.
No,
Leon.
it's an all-Hungarian.
Hungarian.
That's the Hungarian one, is it? Sorry, the RCM one. Yes.
Yeah, so it's Laszlo Schutti, Witold Elfeki, Gabor Kismati Lechner, Norbert Nagy, who I do know, and Attila Tassin.
And that is also the car which is in the best place as far as the Diesel Championship is concerned.
Shea, of course, has read up on what the dots next to the cars mean and will tell us now.
They correspond with the entry list. Each driver is assigned a number if you're 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, and that just lets you know which driver it is.
Right. Okay. Thank you very. See that's just a slightly more sophisticated version of me putting the coloured flannel on the inside of the car when I drive in 360.
Right now then, so that will help us identify which are the Mullers.
Correct.
And which of the brothers and fathers and son
And
combinations are... Oh, right. So now we need to colour in our own entry list to match.
Oh, dear. Motorsport Development Seat Eurocup LR. This is one of the new Seat Eurocup cars with the very wide track, very aggressive front end. Use the same headlights, by the way. Or the headlights from this car are used on the Ginetta LMP3 car, but mounted straight up in the front of the wings. Really nice bit of design work there. And that number 100 car has pulled up to a stop out on the circuit.
We haven't yet, I don't think, have we, mentioned Martin Short?
No, we have not.
I think he's offended us mortally.
I think we should nevertheless mention the fact that he's moved up as well to be now second in the SP3 class at the wheel of the V8 BMW. He's in car number 173. He just set a time of 2 minutes 14.379, which, as I say, puts him to be second in the SP3 class. Although it was 5th place overall, it's now in 6th place overall as other people are improving. Most significantly of which is Bradley Ellis with the Ginetta, who's now done a 2 minutes 7.350, which suggests, Martin, that the track is drying sufficiently where the SP3 and A3 team cars are going to start to get in the way, as it were, come Saturday's grid of the not just the slower, but actually getting in the way of some of the quicker A6 and 997 cars that we saw practicing earlier on.
207.35. If I can get my screen to align, 207.35 would have left him in 8th place in the previous session. So you're absolutely right.
It will put him in 8th place on the grid because these are only 2 separate qualifying sessions. They're not all one cars in the front and all the rest cars in the back.
So nice new set of slick Hankook tyres on very shiny rims going on to the 75 BMW, which is back in the pit lane. The Hofer Cooper Racing E43 M3 in A5, sitting at the moment in 9th position or in this session, and second in the A5 class.
And they're in the Disco Lights pit. As
they
you
are
can
in the
see
Disco Buddy pit.
From your screen, that's the one pit that we'll be able to tell.
Different
where we
design
are.
of wheel rim for the wets and the slicks as they go on. And Paul Truswell, news from the previous session. We did think perhaps we might have to talk about this, and there has been a change to classification of 3 cars.
Yes, the official bulletin has been issued by the stewards of the meeting, which basically moves the 3 Lamborghinis which were in the SP2 class, the 2 cars from Sportec Motorsport, numbers 13 and 21, and the Lippert Motorsport Lippert Motorsport Lamborghini. So the 3 Lamborghinis which were down as SP2 cars, but they are outside the boundary of the class, as it says in the bulletin. And so they've been moved into a new class, which is going to be called SPX. So they're not in SP2 because SP2 has to run to a minimum reference lap time of 1 minute and 54 seconds, and those Lamborghinis are just far too quick to run in that class. So the 3 Lamborghinis, these are, as I say, the 2 Sportec cars, 13 and 21, and the Lippert Lamborghini number 22 will be running in SPX. They've already qualified, so the grid positions are already set, but that's setting their grid positions for the race tomorrow.
Quick times coming in. Colin White just on 3rd fastest in CWS Motorsport Ginetta.
I'm not surprised. A phenomenal flat 4-wheel drift through the faster corners on the track. He is hanging it out, man, of course, who had a really impressive career in short track racing earlier on his career. He's done ASCAR in the UK, smashing bloke, is Colin.
Martin Byford went second quickest in the number 107.
Is that one of the Hondas?
BPM Seat Cup racer.
Oh, right.
But now just up to third. I'm not going to say Esteban Gutierrez because I'm sure it isn't. It is Frances Gutierrez, who is Catalan, who shares with
Too late.
Sanz.
Too late. Ellis is back to the top.
Oh yes, Bradley Ellis and Martin Byford, and now third in the number 43 car. Is that James Osborne? James Alex Osborne, of course, is sharing with Paul May. So times are tumbling. Goodness.
Roll centre in the pit lane. Shea Adam is down there.
Well, I was going to talk to Martin Short because you guys were saying such nice things about him, but he decided to stay behind the wheel of the car, and they took off the wet tires and put him on slicks. So if you thought you were seeing quick times before, just wait.
And this is going to really affect the grid positions now because they're moving up into the top few positions on the grid. And
we may have a new pole.
Just under 7 minutes, just over 7 minutes of the session remaining. Bradley Ellis with the Ginetta, a 2 minutes 5.228, Martin.
Outright pole because
Martin Short's going for pole.
Did a 2:05.991. So we now have a front row of Bradley Ellis and Martin Byford.
Shorty's going for Paul. Colin White's going for Paul. They see the opportunity here. The number 107 Seat Leon Cup racer. Who's in that at the moment?
Martin Byford.
It is Martin. Martin has just had the unloaded rear wheel, in this case the right rear wheel. I counted 4.5 seconds off the ground through the long right-hander at turn 12. Martin is so those cars are not set up for the wet. They are set up for the dry, stiff as you like. And we are going to see these guys in some of the smaller cars going for outright pole position. Through goes the 25, Martin.
Yeah,
the Seat Leon.
Goes third fastest. And this is now by the car coming across that. Phil Quake's just gone fourth quickest.
In the 95.
95 car. So Devon Modell is sixth and Dan Brown seventh.
It's all the Seats. Seats at the head of the field, apart, of course, from the 163, which is the Ginetta. And there's this part of North Yorkshire that'll be going crackers at the moment. If they could get overall pole for this, what a story that would be.
At the moment they do. The Michel Vaillant car is back out on track and going quicker than it was when it came in, that's for certain. So hopefully that Peugeot RCZ will go.
And that is the car with Carlos Antunes Tavares in it, the top man at Peugeot and Citroën. And he has been out in this competition before. You're listening to RadioLeMans.com in sound and vision from Circuit de Catalunya.
204s from Bradley Ellis and from Alex Osborne, who now goes second ahead of Martin Byford, who's done a 2:05.2, which is 3/10 quicker than the big fast cars went. But we're down into the 2:04s. 2:04 flat, 0.87 for Bradley Ellis. Sleeves rolled up. This is really game on, and suddenly the track is drying.
Oh, this is marvellous stuff. And there's a chance of glory. Remember...
There he is. Martin Byford has now gone to pole, 2:03.7.
In an A3T car. This is in a Seat.
That's in the 107 Seat Leon. The Michel Vaillant car is moving. It is not moving fast.
I think he was just keeping out of the way on his outlap.
Yeah, but he wasn't going fast up a straight either.
I think he's just keeping out the way. He's probably got a whole amount to pick up the car, not really riding the bumps very well.
That's pedestrian. You'd be going, right, get him in.
Get him in. Yeah, he's definitely got to come in. I think he's got a wheel not fastened. NKPP Seat at the exit of turn number 9. Very, very wide indeed. And the gravel trap is there to grab the unwary. Where's Shorty?
Do you remember how I said Phil Quaife had just gone up to 4th about a lap ago? He's down to 7th, but he's due to come across the line any minute now.
2:03.7.
Martin Byford, 2:03.7.
Oh, off has gone the 86 BMW. This is the LD Racing Z4M. And who's in that car?
Bachelier, Jean-Marc Bachelier.
Oh, man. It's off the track at turn 4.
4 minutes to go. No yellow. Is there a yellow local? Must be, because there's a man in the gravel trap as well as a car in the gravel trap.
And a car going very slow down towards turn number 4.
Not the RCZ. It looks like a Ginetta.
It does look like a Ginetta.
Is that Colin White, CWS car?
Bradley Ellis back to the top and Joe Osborne back to second. 2:02.3. Sorry, Alex Osborne, thank you. And it's Colin White who's going slowly in the Ginetta. I thought that looked like a Ginetta coming down the hill.
That's crabbing. It's either lost a wheel or he's hit something or been hit by something. It's down on the left rear.
And the right rear. Both of the rear wheels are sitting way further up in the wheel arch. He's done
broken left toe arm.
Yeah.
Or track arm.
I have driven a Ginetta that did exactly that. A G55.
Martin Short sets the fastest lap for his car, still only 10th in the BMW.
His issue now, Martin, is he's got to baby that home so he doesn't pull the drive shaft out. If he pulls the drive shaft out, he's not getting it home. And the rear wheel wiggling around.
Doesn't matter, there's only 3 minutes left, there's nothing he can do. He should be parking that, but by driving it around, he guarantees there are yellow flags and other drivers should not improve in that sector, which means he helps himself stay up the order.
I don't think he's thinking that. I think he just wants to get it home.
And unfortunately, he's dropped down to 13th place. What's the red S by?
Means he stopped. It's because he's taking too long to come out of one sector to the next, so the timing system marks him down as stopped in that stationary in that sector. It's a fine piece of driving by Colin.
Alex Osborne. Last lap round, 203.1. That's the second fastest lap, the quickest the car has done. But there are 7 tenths between Bradley Ellis on pole and the outside front row starting car of Alex Osborne.
And Short, he's up to 10th in SP3, that's third. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th.
Osborne improves again, he's still second.
Can't improve when there's a yellow flag out at turn 5.
No, he didn't. In fact, there was a 2:04 one. Nobody's improving now.
It depends, of course, whether he improves in that sector or not.
Yeah, but
that's the issue.
It's a very short It's a very short element. Just one marshal's post, or between one and a second marshal's post.
Devon Bedell fastest in sector 1. Bradley Ellis in sector 2, and Joe Osborne in sector 3. Looks like a British GT. Run down that.
But nobody has set a fast time. A minute and a half remaining in the session. Pole is settled. And unfortunately for Colin White, he is now dropped down to 17th in this session. A 2-minute 13, so he will not be among the fast cars at the front, but there will be 2 cars.
Bradley Ellis is still out there in the twisted Ginetta, and I don't mean by that in the same way as Colin White.
Colin White is twisted.
Yes. This is the last knockings of qualifying for the Hankook 24 hours of the Nürburgring. We'll go down to Shea Adam with the... Now, she's bouncing between different teams down there at the moment. I'm not sure whether she's at 163 or 43.
Barcelona.
What did I say?
Nürburgring.
Yeah, that's where I was next week. Last week. Some other time.
2 months ago.
40 seconds left on the clock. 163, 43, 107 and 25 as up comes the 147 car.
Green flag, 28 seconds in it, so
get across the line now. Bradley's going to do this. He's going to get another lap here, Martin. He's coming round to the final corner. Colin White is in the pits. Here comes Bradley Ellis. It's 18 seconds to go. He's going to get one more shot at this. Not sure where Joe Osborne is on the track. Ellis has gone through. This is the final lap. He's just 2:01.8. 2:01.8.
And 2:15 for Alex Osborne, so he got a better run, perhaps.
And they both got through before the checkered flag, so they're both on another flying lap.
Yes. So the battle for pole now between 43 Alex Osborne and 163 Bradley Ellis. And where are they? Let's get the
tracker.
Binoculars.
Get the binos out. They are tracking round at the moment. Will they get a clear run? They're out on the circuit at the moment in sector 2, the middle sector.
Coming up to 7 and 8.
163 just going in to coming out of turn 4 now and heading down towards turn 5. There's a gaggle of cars ahead of him at the moment.
Yeah. Joe Osborne is ahead of him. Joe Osborne is going to get to the line. Oh, Oyser!
Oyser's come from nowhere.
Haven't even seen the Lotus. 2:01.477. He's on pole by a tenth from Joe Osborne.
And that's a
Bradley
checkered
Ellis.
flag.
Martin Short goes 6th. Martin Byford 4th at the flag. He doesn't improve. Short
But
is
he's
up from 10th to
Byford's
6th.
the pole in A3T.
Yes.
Shorty is 4th in SP3 in the BMW. What a great car that is. Well prepped by Roll Centre, of course.
Oyster has taken the checker.
Yes, correct.
Where is 43 on the tracker?
43 and 163 is what you're looking for. I think they've been caught up with stress.
163 is coming down to the final couple of corners. He's heading towards the chicane.
And 43 should be a
43 is
couple of
not
cars
too far
behind him. Yeah, should.
So there's Royce's car on your screen. That is currently our pole sitter.
And this is overall pole we're talking about here for Barcelona's 24
First
hours.
2 rows.
Here
Okay,
comes.
Here comes Bradley Ellis coming to the line. And he comes across the checkered flag in front of us now.
And he's gone to
and
pole.
He goes to
2
pole,
minutes,
but
point
behind
3.
him is Alex Osborne, who takes pole away. 1:59.202. Bradley Ellis second. Coroy's a third. Phil Quaife blasted in 4th place. 5th place is Gutierrez in the number 25 car. 6th position, Martin Byford. 7th place is Devon Modell. 8th is Dandem Burr. 9th, Martin Short. 10th is the 84 car. We haven't spoken about them. The Intersport BMW. Mark Radcliffe and Adam Hayes, Ryan Lindsay and Kevin Clark. It was
It was Kevin Clark at the
that
wheel.
set the lap. 10, 11, 2:05.5 for the 101 car will all be ahead of the man we thought would be on pole, Renger van der Zande, because he said a 2:05.9.
And it's pole position then for this race for the Porsche 997 GT4 Cup car in SP3, and the top 3 at the front of the grid will all be SP3 cars. Porsche, Porsche, Ginetta, Lotus.
Yep.
The top 3, Phil Quaife in the Seat Leon Cup race of 4 different manufacturers. Gutierrez is in another Seat. So 4 different manufacturers in the top 4, and they will. What did you reckon? The top 8 are all ahead.
11.
The
top 11 are all ahead of Renger van der Zande.
Wow, that's going to be an interesting run down to the first corner.
Well, for us, it's great because first of all, we've got unexpected drivers at the front who will be having their own race, and all the guys that we thought were going to be doing the front running will then be stuck in a bottleneck. So there's going to be all sorts of overtaking and diving around in traffic.
No, I don't.
We'll go down to Shea Adam in just a few moments' time. She is down in the pit lane. 1:59.202 for the 43 car, which is still on its slow down lap at the moment, I think. In comes the 163 machine. That's the other, that is the Ginetta, I should say. Let's pop down the pit lane. Shea, what an amazing session. Unexpected, perhaps, to be at the front of the field. Maybe an SP3 pole was on for the 43 APO Sport team, but overall pole, my goodness me.
That was very unexpected, and I think a lot of these teams, honestly, are kind of surprised to see where they are. A lot of applause, a lot of happy faces, and you know, you don't win the race by winning pole, but it certainly doesn't hurt to start from the front. And a lot of celebration going on. John, I'll give you a shout out when I've gotten to the officially pole sitting team.
All right, well, the black and green Porsche is coming down towards you, Shea. So that is the 43 car. Alex Osborne there, sharing with the Mays in that number 43 car. The Twisted Ginetta, the white Ginetta, 163. That will be on the front row of the grid. And then way up to the top end, pit-in end, is the black Lotus Evora of Cor Oyster. He's been having a lot of success with the Evora in the last couple of years, and that continues here. He will start third on the grid. Phil Quaife in 4th place. Again, I don't think we even saw that Memak Ogilvy Seat during the session. He shares with Sami Moutran, Nabil Moutran, and Ramzi Moutran. So it's a UAE and English lineup.
Porsche 43 pushed back into its pit box. It's the matte black and bright orange machine. The
Orange?
Yellow machine. Orange
Don't forget, we saw him spinning early on in the
we did.
session
Shea
as well.
Adam is there, down by the car. Big slaps on the back. The driver breathing hard, Shea, and still just about taking it in. Shea Adam is there for our pole sitter, not just for SP3, but for the race as a whole. He'll be leading down the field to the start at midday on Saturday. Does he understand the enormity of that? Shea Adam is with Joe Osborne.
Alex Osborne, you're very sweaty, you're hot. That was a hard session out there, but guess what? Your overall pole. Congratulations.
Yeah, we'll take that. That's well, it's a bit of an epic result, really. Yeah, worked hard, but yeah, car's working great. You know, it's thereabouts in the setup, so we're good. It's just great. P1, that's good. I like that.
Is that what you were expecting? A pole in class?
No, I thought we'd be in the top 3. We knew we had a top 3 car on the pace and testing, so yeah. It's a bit of a surprise, but no, we work hard at it. So,
has it hit you yet that you're going to lead all those cars, 74 other cars, into turn 1?
I'm sure a few of them will pick me up before I get there, because I'll get passed by a few GT3s. But other than that, no, I'll do my utmost. Just keep out of trouble. That's the main thing.
How's the car been handling this weekend?
It's really good, yeah, really good. We've had some mixed conditions, so it's been wet and dry. So, yeah, but the car's been running great. It's faultless. It's a Porsche. It's German. It just keeps going. So.
Now, you're not in the Porsche class. You are in SP3. So what's it like to compete in that class?
In SP3, yeah, it's a great class. Because we're a GT4 Porsche, so that's why we're in that class. We can't compete against the 997s. But, yeah, it's a great class. Good mix of cars, some Astons, all sorts of nice top marks. So it's a good class.
Go enjoy a quick beer before the next practice session starts, I think.
I will do. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Won't be in the car for the rest of the evening, so no need not to celebrate, if that makes any sense at all. Fantastic stuff. Night practice coming in just under an hour's time, and we'll have it here, of course, for you in sound and vision. The lights on the pit lane beginning to illuminate straight into our face, actually, here at the finish line. Let's have some thoughts from, first of all, Paul Truswell, Martin Haven and me, John Hindhoff, in the booth. That's quite remarkable stuff.
All that fuss for qualifying for a 24-hour race. Doesn't matter, does it?
But how cool is it that we've got the touring car classes right at the sharp end of the field? Those Seats were clearly very quick indeed. We don't need the GT3 cars when we go to Silverstone next year for the 24. The Tourers are going to be fantastic.
Well, one of the things we've always said is that the whole of the Creventic approach is to make things very fair. And normally in qualifying, we say, oh, look, we've got a good mix. We've got Mercedes, we've got Ferraris, we've got Porsches, and there's not much to choose between them. The Lamborghinis sometimes up with them. And you know, we do have this terrific balance, and we always talk about the A6, the GT3 type cars, but it's the same thing, only with a Porsche, a Lotus, and a Ginetta. You know, there's not very much to choose between them. It was a question of a circuit drying out and people pushing as hard as they could. But ultimately, we've got 3 different types of answers to the same problem, get very close together at the front of the grid.
There was a realisation, Martin, I think, wasn't there, that these guys were not just shooting for their individual class poles. Phil Quaife, by the way, on pole for A3T. It's the 147, the Denboer car, on pole for A5. A2 is the Keireischer car with Jakob Christensen, I think, in the A2 rather category, yes, the 115, yeah. That is